Hello, Normconf, and thank you for coming to my talk. I am excited to tell you about PRQL, a modern language for querying and transforming data. This presentation is a Jupyter notebook which I'm running on a GitHub code space. You can clone that repo you see on your screen now and run your own code space and follow along. Alright, let's get started. PRQL is a modern language to take what's working from SQL and make it better. It is ergonomic for data exploration and built from a number of simple yet powerful concepts. It's not limiting. It compiles to SQL, so you can use it anywhere where you are using SQL today. And it is database agnostic, so you can use it on any database backend. Alright, so as I said, PRQL transpiles to SQL, and the easiest way to do that is in our JavaScript playground. So if you go to that link, you'll see something like what you're seeing in the screenshot below, and you can put in your PRQL on the left hand side, and while you're typing it will transpile and output the SQL on the right hand side. So you can get started trying to try out and see if PRQL works for you today within 30 seconds and at zero cost. But what I want to tell you about today is the existing integrations that we have for PRQL with Python, the shell, and R. So first, everyone's favorite data science language, let's look at Python. A simple pip install PRQL Python, and you've got a PRQL to SQL function available here. So let's look at our first PRQL query. Let's say you want to check whether your employer practices equal pay for equal work. So we take our employees table, we join on the salaries on employee ID, then we'll group by department ID and gender, and then for each group we aggregate to find the average salary. And it produces some SQL down, which you can see below. If you look over the SQL, I think you agree it makes sense, but nothing too out of the ordinary yet. But let's look at the next query where PRQL really starts to come into its own. So let's look at those same two tables, but what if we want to find the top 5 salaries by department? So this time we'll group by department ID. Then for each group we sort by the salary descending, and then we'll take the first 5 entries. Pretty simple in PRQL, but if you look at our SQL, now it's a little bit more complicated with a common table expression and some window functions, and it's doable, but it just gets tedious fast. So why not use PRQL instead? Right, next we have some pandas and Jupyter magics. So that we do a pip install PyPRQL, and that gives us access to the PyPRQL pandas accessor. So let's say we've got a CSV file, customer data. We read that into a data frame, and then we just do df.prql.query, and here we can put our PRQL query. So let's just filter for customers from Germany, and we'll select 4 columns: customer ID, first name, last name, and country. And we get our data back in a data frame. So nice and simple. Next, we have our Jupyter magic, and this gives you access to this $% cell magic, which takes as a parameter any SQL Alchemy URI. So you can query your Postgres database or anything else that SQL Alchemy understands. So for this example, I'm just going to use an in-memory DuckDB database to query another CSV file I've got of invoices. We'll filter by country, USA, and then pick these 4 columns. And again, we just get a data frame back right in our Jupyter notebook. Okay, moving on. Shell. Who doesn't find themselves at a shell looking at a CSV file, and maybe you do head or tail, but you wish there was just a little bit more analytics you could do right in the shell. So we've got a tool for you called PRQL query, or at the command line just PQ. There are release builds with binary downloads available at the GitHub repo with packages for Mac, Linux, and Windows. Right, so then at the shell, you can just do pq -- from invoices and then pass in a string, which you can actually write this on one line, but just for readability, I've added a here document. So we can group by customer ID, aggregate the sum of all the order amounts by customer, sort by decreasing customer totals, and take the first 5 to see who our top 5 customers of all time are. Okay, that's pretty great, but what are these customer IDs? Wouldn't it be great if we could see customer names? Well, with just a few simple modifications to the query, we'll add the customer file as a additional file input, and then we can just add some lines here of join by customer, see on customer ID, and then select 2 new columns. And this is one of my favorite features of PRQL. We can use F strings to concatenate the first name and the last name to a customer name. And lo and behold, here we've got our top 5 customers with our customer name there. Alright, last, let's look at R. So here's our command. You can install the PRQL R extension, and then we can take a PRQL query, pass it through the PRQL to SQL filter, and let's put the output to get some SQL. But similarly to Python, if you use the query filter from the tidy query package, you can get a data frame returned right inside R, which you queried with PRQL. And last but not least, using the show dplyr filter from the tidy query package, you can even use this to generate dplyr expressions. And see if you compare this dplyr query to the PRQL query, and isn't it amazing how similar they are? Now, this wasn't an explicit design goal of PRQL, but it's just something that's come out because both dplyr and PRQL both aim to make it easy for you to work with your data the way you think about the data. Alright, so that was a lightning tour of PRQL. The project is less than a year old, starting with a proposal that was posted on Hacker News in January 2022, and since then, as you can see by this red line, we've seen a massive show of interest by GitHub stars on GitHub, and we're looking to make PRQL available in any place that you are working with data. So come to our GitHub repo, talk to us on Discord. It's a very friendly and open community. We're always looking for contributors, from bug reports to assistance with the documentation, or new integrations, or even additions to the PRQL language and the compiler itself. And yeah, enjoy the rest of Normconf.